Hey everyone, so we need to talk about something that's been in my mind for a long time, and I'm sure many of you have thought about that too. The gaming industry right now feels like watching a slow-motion car crash, doesn't it? We've got these massive, highly anticipated titles that seem to be stuck in what I like to call development purgatory. Today, I want to walk you through 10 games that have us all worried. These aren't small indie projects. We're talking about major releases with serious budgets and even more serious problems. Let's dive in, shall we? 10. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake. Let's start with the elephant in the room, the KOTOR Remake. This one hits different because the original game isn't just good, it's legendary. We're talking about a title that defined what a Star Wars RPG could be. So when they announced the remake in 2021, fans went absolutely wild. But here's where it gets messy. The game has bounced between studios like a hot potato, from Aspyr to Saber Interactive, with development reportedly restarting from scratch. Think about that for a second. They literally threw away years of work and started over. Despite Saber Interactive's reassurances that the project is still in development, we've had almost a year of radio silence. The corporate shuffle behind this game reads like a business textbook gone wrong. Aspyr was supposed to handle it, then became a subsidiary of Saber, which was owned by Embracer Group, who then sold Saber but kept Aspyr. It's like watching someone play corporate musical chairs while your favorite game gets tossed around. 9. Bungie's Marathon. Remember when Bungie could do no wrong? Those days feel like ancient history now. Their upcoming Marathon reboot has become a cautionary tale about studio mismanagement. Production has been stalled by numerous issues at Bungie following multiple rounds of layoffs. We're talking about 220 developers cut from their jobs in 2024, plus leadership shakeups, including the firing of former Marathon director Chris Barrett for inappropriate behavior. But here's what gets me. Why make Marathon a PvP-only extraction shooter? The original Marathon had this incredible single-player narrative that influenced games for decades. Instead, they're chasing trends in one of the most oversaturated genres in gaming. It feels like they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist while ignoring what made Marathon special in the first place. Reports suggest the general sentiment around Marathon at Bungie is not great, with developers remaining pessimistic about hitting targets. When your own developers aren't confident, that's never a good sign. 8. Mind's Eye. This one's fascinating because it's coming from Leslie Benzies, who worked on some of the best Grand Theft Auto games. Mind's Eye promises to blend Cyberpunk 2077's storytelling with GTA's chaos. Sounds amazing on paper, right? The problem is, we're seeing the same red flags that plagued other recent disasters. Heavy marketing with minimal gameplay footage, reports of unpolished mechanics, and that dreaded phrase, cinematic experience, being thrown around. When studios focus more on the marketing than showing actual gameplay, my alarm bells start ringing. The game's connection to the Everywhere platform adds another layer of complexity. User-generated content platforms are incredibly ambitious, but they also tend to dilute focus. Are they making a game or a platform? Because trying to do both rarely ends well. 7. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2. If there was an award for most dramatic development saga, Bloodlines 2 would win by a landslide. This game has been through more twists than a soap opera. Originally announced in 2019, it seemed like a dream come true for fans of the cult classic original. Then everything fell apart. The controversial firing of narrative lead Brian Mitsoda in 2020 was just the beginning. Paradox Interactive nearly canceled the entire project before handing development to the Chinese Room. But here's the thing though, this might actually work out. The Chinese Room knows narrative-driven games, and after years of uncertainty, they're claiming the game is functionally complete. Sometimes a change of leadership is exactly what a troubled project needs. Out of all the games on this list, this one has the best chance of actually delivering. 6. Fable. The Fable reboot has been coming soon since 2020, and it's become a perfect example of why you don't announce games too early. Originally slated for 2025, it's now pushed to 2026, which in gaming terms usually means 2027 if we're lucky. Here's what's interesting. Playground Games is developing Fable, but they're known for racing games, specifically Forza Horizon. They're using the Forza tech engine, which is designed for racing games, to create a narrative-driven RPG. It's like asking a chef who specializes in sushi to make pizza. They might pull it off, but it's not exactly their wheelhouse. The constant delays suggest they're learning as they go, which could be good or catastrophic. Sometimes fresh eyes on a beloved franchise can work wonders, but other times well, we've all seen what happens when the wrong team tackles the wrong project. 5. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time Remake. This remake has become a running joke, and that breaks my heart because Sands of Time is genuinely one of the best action-adventure games ever made. The original announcement in 2020 promised a 2021 release. We're now looking at March 2026, maybe. The initial reveal was so poorly received that Ubisoft basically said, never mind, and started over. They moved development from Ubisoft Pune to Ubisoft Montreal, which was smart since Montreal created the original. But why not start there in the first place? This was supposed to be a straightforward remaster with updated graphics and quality of life improvements. Instead, it's become a 5-year development saga that's still nowhere near completion. Sometimes the simplest projects become the most complicated. 4. Star Wars Eclipse. Quantic Dream's Star Wars Eclipse was revealed at the Game Awards in 2021, and since then, it's been radio silent. We're talking about 4 years of basically nothing from the studio that gave us Detroit Become Human and Heavy Rain. The most telling detail, a Quantic Team executive described the game's development status as simmering in 2023. Simmering? That's what you do with soup, not AAA game development. When executives start using cooking metaphors to describe progress, you know there's trouble. Quantic Dream makes incredible narrative experiences, but they also take their sweet time. The complete lack of updates or even estimated release dates suggests this game is much further away than anyone wants to admit. 3. Hytale. Hytale deserves a special mention because it's been almost ready since 2018. We're talking about nearly 7 years of development for what essentially looks like a more polished Minecraft. The community is getting restless, and rightfully so. How do you spend a decade working on core systems like movement and combat for a game with deliberately simple graphics? Minecraft was revolutionary partly because it proved you didn't need cutting-edge visuals to create something special. Riot Games acquired Hypixel Studios, which should have provided resources and direction. Instead, we're still getting vague updates about internal playtesting and progress on core systems. At some point, you have to deliver, and that point was probably 3 years ago. 2. Squadron 42. Squadron 42 is the single-player component of Star Citizen, and it's basically become the Duke Nukem Forever of space games. They've been calling it feature-complete and almost ready for years. The most frustrating part, all the voice acting was recorded over a decade ago. Mark Hamill, Orty Oldman, and Gillian Anderson did their work when Obama was president. The game has been pushed to 2026, which represents an 11-year delay from the original timeline. CitizenCon showcased over an hour of gameplay that looked impressive, but ultimately felt like a very expensive tech demo. After hundreds of millions in crowdfunding, backers deserve better than "it'll be ready when it's ready." 1. Judas. Ken Levine's Judas takes the top spot because it represents everything wrong with modern game development ambition. Levine shut down Irrational Games to start Ghost Story Games, essentially to make the same type of game with a smaller team. Originally announced for March 2025, we're now in June with no release date in sight. Ken Levine's perfectionist tendencies, which gave us masterpieces like BioShock Infinite, seem to be working exactly against him here. Reports suggest constant reboots and direction changes. Levine wants to create a narrative that responds dynamically to player choices. Imagine The Legend of Zelda's mechanical freedom applied to storytelling. It's incredibly ambitious, maybe too ambitious. Sometimes the most visionary developers are their own worst enemies. Looking at this list, there's a pattern here. Most of these games were announced way too early, suffered from scope creep, or had their development disrupted by corporate politics. The gaming industry has become obsessed with generating hype years before games are ready to ship. We've created a culture where studios feel pressured to announce games before they have a clear vision, leading to the exact problems we're seeing. Maybe it's time for the industry to go back to announcing games when they're actually close to being finished. What do you think? Are any of these games still on your must-play list, or have you given up hope? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more gaming content. Until next time, keep your expectations managed and your fingers crossed that at least some of these actually make it to release.